They give us.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. This is the meeting of the Raleigh Community Investment Program Task Force. It's Thursday, December 21st, 2023, as authorized by Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code. This meeting may be convened into a closed executive session for the purpose of seeking confidential legal advice from the city attorney on any agenda item herein. The City of Raleigh reserves the right to reconvene, recess, or realign the regular session or call executive session or order of business at any time prior to adjournment. The process for public input: if you're not able to attend in person, you may complete the citizen input form on the city's website by 3:30 p.m. the day of the meeting. All forms will be forwarded to the task force prior to the start of the meeting. The committee may receive comments only on the listed agenda items as they're listed below. Do we have any comments this evening? No? No input? Okay, very good. Let's head right to it. Agenda item 1, consider approval of the meeting. Okay, let's try it again. Consider approval of the minutes from the November 29th, 2023 meeting. Everybody wants to take a couple minutes to review the minutes.
Thank you.
And once you've had a couple minutes,
Move to approve.
give a motion. We have a motion. Brian? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. Item 2, discussion of feedback received from members regarding the PowerPoint presentation of projects that will be presented to the council in January. And I know there's a couple different sets of requests that came in. One set from Richard. I think Brian, you had a set as well. So let's go ahead and turn it over to you.
Yeah, what we've done is just taken those comments verbatim and put them up on these slides. They're there for everybody to read. I don't know. Would you like me to read it out?
Well, let's do it this way. Everybody just go ahead and read them. And if you have any questions, we'll ask questions. So I don't think everybody's seen these, correct?
Not all of this.
So Jeff, are there any duplicative things?
There are.
Oh, okay.
There are.
Okay.
And I would just mention anything that's like grammatical, etc. Let's just go to the big ticket items if you would mind. Assuming we'll take care of those.
And I think when I replied to Bina on this with inserting a slide. What's that?
I have your comments.
Okay.
As well.
Thank you. Yeah, I think but one of the things that we had discussed, so we're going to make our recommendations to council. And I assume staff prior to that is going to give a presentation on
The current status of the CIP. That is correct.
okay. And a little more detail about what that will entail. I just want to make sure that we're not duplicating content on each presentation.
It shouldn't, because I'm just going to give a status update on all the CIP projects.
Okay. That have already been approved.
And that are in
Okay,
progress.
in the bond, okay.
In progress
Right. All right,
from previous bonds.
okay. Any questions on this before the next comments? And we decide if we want to.
So, this comment sort of affected a formatting thing, so we've put together what it could look like based on Jeff's.
That
Somehow, I had On the number of projects selected, where it says residential street projects not selected, I had suggested that we simply say in bulk.
Or TBD.
Well, TBD, sure. TBD.
Yeah.
But one alley that was submitted by the citizen wasn't in our original alley, is that correct?
Actually,
It was.
Bina told me that it is.
Okay, okay, I
included.
just want to make sure the count was correct based on that one again.
Is it something we want to stick in there then?
Yes, please.
And of course, you said you concurred with Jeff. And Richard submitted this, basically, I think, agreeing with the previous comments. This is from John.
Yeah. David? I was reading emails, I'm sorry. I don't know that, yeah.
This is talking about, and I'm reading some of this for the first time, but making a more comprehensive approach instead of 3 individualized parts.
And I think we talked about this the last time about where we were with the citywide evaluation and not going down that avenue.
Well, I think there was 3 areas where it was distinctly identified that there's potentially currently a problem that needs to be remediated. I think there was a lot of discussion about other areas and what the best methods would be
Well,
for,
simply put, our focus has to be on if it is Lakeshore, it's city, like park, land,
Right.
Lakeshore, the city asset. But any other Lakeshore that is subleased or has the ability to be subleased is not something that we're going to approach.
Mayor, you want me to address that? I mean, sure, because I will. If you want me to.
yeah, please.
So, I should sit down so I will look better. So here's the thing with the erosion control or erosion in the city along the shoreline and the take line. We have an interlocal agreement with the city of Dallas. And nowhere in that agreement is the city of Raleigh responsible for erosion control. In fact, it's just the opposite. We're indemnified, as is the city of Dallas, against any erosion that happens across any of the shoreline, and more specifically with respect to any sublessee. And so for the city of Rowlett to expend public funds now, outside of those properties that, as the mayor said, are city assets, i.e. parks, as an administrator, I don't have a vote, so thank God for that, but I have to be very clear and on the record that I think it is completely inappropriate use of city funds because there is no obligation in law or in our contractual obligations.
And I don't think there was ever an intention to use any funds for other than city property.
Fair enough, but when we read that, that says a little differently. So I just wanted to give that information to the body, and I will sit down.
Yeah, without John here, it's hard to kind of find out where he was kind of delineating that.
It says a more comprehensive citywide.
I understand, but citywide is a lot of shoreline.
Yeah, and that-
as opposed to city-owned shoreline. So maybe it's a talking point if questions are asked, but I'm comfortable with the areas that were identified in this. Because I think most of this was just to study remediation, possibly some correction, But like I said, a lot of discussion, and this isn't really, I don't even know if it's the city's choice or it's in with conjunction with the city, what method is gonna be used and things like that. I think that's part of what was being looked at for that, is what's gonna be the best way to do this in those areas, so.
I think, yeah, what you said. There you go.
In the areas that are city parks,
Right.
Because we don't have the right or the obligation to do anything other than something that's a city-owned facility.
no, I understand, I'm only addressing it because of the comment on the slide.
Right.
Not the original charge of, not the original statement of the committee, which was, seemed limited to the parks. So,
Okay, I think there's a.
Keep it as is. Mr. Jim.
Yes. Yes.
This was about pie charts. Richard suggested that we use them, and he's got a good point. He provided these, and we tweaked it, cleaned it up a little bit. Basically, this is what they are,
I like that.
and yeah.
Good idea.
Committee is up for it. We'll include that in there.
I think that's a good visual when it goes to the public as well.
And I don't know that the right one is necessarily, I just think that's kind of busy, but the one to the left is a clear depiction of where we're truly allocating the bulk of our resources. And I think that's something important for the community to see.
And that was my point, was rather than have a lot of verbiage, visualize it. and,
Right.
You know, a lot easier to ingest.
Perhaps on the right one, it would look less busy if we used the same base colors as the one on the left.
Well,
And
that, I don't know that there's a way to get around the busyness with colors, because there's a lot going on there with, you know, what is allocated. Well, I don't know that that's as important as the one to the left, which really captures, here's where the majority of your funding is going, or the portions of your funding.
You could simply add on the graphic that's on the left, just a list of those projects that are
Yeah.
included within that 7%.
So combine.
You know, I recognize that the one on the right was, when I looked at it, I said, this thing is extremely busy. But if you wanted to put it all together, that's what it would look like.
For sure. Or break it
We can do that.
And you can actually break it out however you want,
Okay.
you know.
so when we list them out underneath, list them out by,
Exactly, those three categories.
right.
Yep.
That's good.
That's what I was thinking.
I like that. Good idea, sir. Good idea.
Okay, so Brian
Discussion earlier.
had some comments. Many of these comments affected the slides themselves, and I have the slides pulled up in the browser. I think we can all see that, yes? So, Brian commented about adding the vacancies on the cover sheet, the cover slide, yes. Now, number two, that the numbers to the left are the slide numbers so that we can keep track of them. I think we should, actually that second item on this list, about the third bullet,
See,
is, oops, sorry. Is about the committee's role during the campaign, which is an item on our agenda
It is.
tonight. So I think we can get back to that. Also, he mentioned about the rewording of a bullet item, but this is the way it reads right now, and this is what Brian's comment.
Yeah, determine rather than match. I'm sorry, that's.
You also talk about debt, retiring debt. Is that something that we?
Well, by virtue of having capacity, we've had other bonds paid off that I don't know that the normal person is going to understand that lingo, but this is going to council, and certainly we would understand that. So, I mean, it's true.
I think it goes to help though, should this presentation be utilized elsewhere. We get to item 3. If we are doing outreach, we are doing town hall meetings and things during the bond election cycle, I think it's a good talking point to emphasize that this is zero impact on the tax rate for things like that.
Well, I think that's its own bullet. I think that has to be its own, yeah, this will not impact the property tax rate.
At the last meeting, we did discuss this, and I think it was decided not to include that kind of verbiage in this presentation. That's why we did not include that.
Well, because council's gonna know that, we're gonna know that, but yeah, I mean, the whole public, I can't, really, this conversation is for the item 3 on our agenda.
Right.
What our strategy is for the public campaign, this part is different. Right.
Well, I'm going to ask a council member who's on our committee. Is it helpful to you to have that retiring word in there or not?
I like it, because I believe that it accurately reflects why we have that money to spend.
And where that number comes from?
And I do believe that everybody, like you said, our ordinary citizens can understand that, and I do believe that's important.
That's good. I'll say leave it in. Yeah, okay.
I think that the next one is more grammatical. Question. Slide number 4, content of the first bullet is not needed. I think it might be right. I don't know. It's like to pose it to the committee.
Well, if we're going to capitalize growth, we should capitalize budget. If we're going to capitalize growth, we should put in the budget lowercase.
I was, yes, and that is a comment also. But I'm at the very top about the first bullet. It's not needed because the title in the data explains slide. So used ranking method. The committee used ranking method to evaluate parks and rec public safety projects. Is that something we just want to?
Yeah, because I think when we go to the next bullet point, and we're presenting, that will be part of the discussion or part of the presentation notes.
Okay, I'll write it.
So
Then-
keeping that.
No,
We're taking out the first bullet
the yellow highlight.
Checking out use ranking method.
Yes.
because it will be a talking point when we get to the 10-point set of criteria. The ranking method was used using a 10-point.
Okay, so we'll explain it elsewhere.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
And how about the wording for replacing 10-point set?
I think it's followed that.
Well,
Otherwise, it's a guessing game.
Well, I'm saying
So
get rid of
it's
10-point set and actually say.
use
rank-
that verbiage. Use the verbiage. And then, of course,
Where you can say a 10-point ranking criteria.
Yeah.
But that's not,
Because you go into.
but that wasn't universal for all either.
That's true.
So. Yeah, let's just do ranking, take out 10
Just
points.
what Brian
Yeah,
suggested.
because we didn't universally use the 10-point criteria on everything.
Yeah, because in some cases it was 5 point, right?
No, at some points it was 0 to 10 instead of 1 to 10, and then one of them was reverse.
Oh, I thought there was a 0 to 5. So. Some sense there. Not much, but.
So, another comment is that, the general public may not understand what PCI is. We suggest, another way.
I agree with that. Because I know what PCI is every time I say it, but I sometimes have to think about what the words are.
Well,
I say it, so.
standard grammar is like on the first time you use it.
So, do you want to keep the reference to PCI, but then add in, the number of households, along the, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
And that data was provided. We didn't leverage on it a lot,
But it was,
but it was provided.
Well, yes, we got that information, but with the exception of the specifically called out streets and roads project, we're kind of saying that for the remainder, staff is to make that determination. We're not
The
gonna-
only reason I thought we might is because someone might just say, you just look at the condition, what if there's one house on that 1 mile stretch of
He's saying to clarify.
and add that household count as we evaluated that additionally, to say these roads have this much traffic on them based on the number of houses, since that was presented.
So it doesn't look like we just completely didn't think about it.
Can you go
Well,
back to that slide?
and that's an accurate statement. We did think about it,
Slide 4.
but
But when we go back to the city, they may decide to use that as a parameter.
true.
I'm just saying, it was a data point we considered.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
okay.
and it's also, you know,
Yeah,
important to remember that this is a presentation to the city council, and that the public campaign will be that'll be a whole different strategy in how we communicate.
Well understood, but we will have members of the public also,
Mhm.
this being their first view of this as well.
If you took, they're divided in quadrants, correct?
They
Yeah,
presented.
right. So suppose we use the pie chart again. For this quadrant, we're affecting this number of households, this number of feet. Something like
Well,
that.
because when the ultimate decision was made, with the exception of the Merritt Road connector, Shrady Road, and Chisa Road, we are saying that we are leaving it to staff to make the determination on where the balance.
Yeah, I'm not trying to create a new graphic, I'm just saying, in terms of evaluation of PCI,
It was
and then we
considered.
can also look at households.
Trying
Well,
to say,
that's fine.
we didn't spend $1 million on a road that has one
That has
house.
one house.
Well, and that's part of the ranking criteria, so would we want to repeat that because existing infrastructure was one
Well-
of the ranking criteria?
But one of the things we have to remember is one of the roads that we did call out, specifically Shrady Road, I don't think has a single rooftop, but it's a feeder
Oh, wait,
road.
There's businesses on.
There's a church,
And
there's a fire station.
There's-
But-
households.
Yeah, no, there's 3 households and then 1 acre for sale.
I think that's right. And there will be a senior living.
Yeah.
But then you're kind of getting into different roadway classifications, right? A residential street versus a collector versus an arterial, so. they're different.
And that's why I'm wondering if we want to keep that in there, because there are different reasons for either including a project or that could impact what roads are done in the future.
I think in the broad sense, it's an
Okay, that's fine.
Great.
More comments.
We're gonna count 30 of them right there. No, I'm kidding.
Also about slide number 5. I wasn't quite sure, Brian, what you were, I'm sorry. are you saying to replace this bullet with your suggested wording? Or add that as?
Oh, no, that would be add the second last bullet.
So there's the second to last bullet. So it's like right now.
Can you toggle back? And toggle back. So Brian, you're saying
No, I guess it wouldn't be.
you make that
less than-
additive or replace?
No, replace.
And
Do we want to replace the whole thing, or do we just want to say limited funding dash replace what you had in there?
Maybe. 'Cause I mean, the number of over 100 million, that really does only cover the worst downs and the streets, not everything.
So after,
Well, excuse me, what would be the purpose of of just making the statement of the 100 million versus breaking out between streets and alleys?
well, I think saying the limited funding says this is one of the problems that had to be solved.
Right.
And then this further defines why that was,
I mean,
You should-
to me, that seems like that would be at the end of that sentence on the slide, like in parentheses, as a, hey, this is
Well, if we go-
supplemental information
if we go back,
we're showing.
we toggle back.
Just makes it more clear.
It kind of says the same thing that's already there, except it's, I think, Brian, it's a clearer.
I mean, they've presented hundreds of streets and alleys.
Yeah.
These are the worst that
Yeah.
fall to this. So at least add that piece, whether you want to have a separate rate for streets. It's not a bill on it.
It's less confusing that way.
I mean, here on the way it's presented here, we have to math. Yours, we don't have to math.
Yeah.
So
All for that.
I'm off for not mathing. And so we had Brian, he math is for us.
An auditor.
Well, again, I think the difference here is that we're talking about a presentation to council versus, the strategy to present to, the residents. The residents are gonna wanna know, well, what's the $100 billion? How does that break down between streets and alleys? That's good, that would be a focus, that would be a question,
maybe your comment?
so.
On the order? Yeah, I wanted to look at the order overall again, Brian. So let's just go ahead and go through them, and we can look at how we might want to reword.
Some of the summaries had things, and then the details in different order than
Right.
summaries works. So that's the
Right.
point I was making.
I don't know that,
I don't think we'll have that.
I don't think that will be ready by then.
Okay. Understood. Think what our next steps for the city. We're in look at it. I just hold my phone for my changes.
Yeah.
The comment is, do we leave the $1 million to $2 million here?
The title says 2 million.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, I think you're right, just take it out.
Okay. We'll fix the format. when I was looking through these comments, you know, I can't deny what Brian has said here. I think what may have happened is that when I went back and looked at the park presentations, at first it was a broad request for $3 million. And then the committee asked for some more detail. Parks came back with actual numbers. And so these numbers were added to their presentation, but the title still read $3 million. This is, I believe, 2.2. And so,
Just drop the 3 million at the top. And let the detail.
well, yes, but that would change the tables and what the committee would recommend. So,
What we could do is just take the dollar amounts off the bullet points. We could do Springfield Park, Dexham Road Park in the South Lot, Pecan Grove Park, and Katy Railroad Park.
Rather than putting that excess money into the other fund, to the infrastructure fee. I mean, that to me is the opportunity that I see, is that you're not gonna use the 3 million, you use 2.2, so put the rest into the other piggy bank.
Well, that's fine too.
I mean, that's what I mean.
So we're talking about changing parking lot improvements to 2.2 in the header. And then recommending that the remaining 800,000
Just put it in,
go back to.
Those are alleys and streets.
yeah,
Which pops you to the 21, which we talked about, I think.
Right. That's fine.
okay. Slide number 26. Brian is suggesting that those, each fire station had a dollar figure, but we don't have, I went back and looked, we don't have one. Fire came and presented, this number has evolved, and although the chief did present, some information with more detailed, cost analyses, it was still a gross figure
well,
in the presentation.
I mean, I think council is gonna want to see if there is a proposed number for each station. I mean, that would be preferred to break it out.
I'll have
So if
do
he
that.
if he doesn't have that, that's one thing. But if he has a rough estimate,
Okay.
I think that would be preferred to have it broken out for council to see.
I recall that there was some information that wouldn't be able to be determined until they actually started getting in there working on it. Like, was the foundation actually bad, or was the surrounding concrete work bad?
Yeah, I think we rolled out the foundation, I think it was the Chief Howard.
Yeah, he
Tom said
the
that-
last meeting. He said that was that.
Foundation was good, now the pavement condition, that's, wow. Yeah.
So I think what was given, and if I'm wrong, correct me, what I think was given was kind of a worst case number.
Well, that was the first one. I mean,
Right.
The last one was I think it ended up being for Station 3 it was like 2 million,
If
and
we,
then the other two were split between.
if we can get the data, it would be helpful to put it in,
Okay,
if it's available.
I'll work with the chief on that, yeah.
I think the majority, not the majority, I think as a percentage of the funds, it was going to 3, then 4, then 1,
Right.
because of the condition, but I don't know that we have a specific number.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be, yeah,
Okay.
again,
Okay.
split those out. Thank you.
It might require 2 slides, it might get too busy if it's on one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with that.
I'm fine with it too.
Keep Station 3 on its own, 'cause that's a
That's it. That's it. Those were the comments that we received.
Can we go back to the current presentation? I know we've got a lot of markups and highlighted stuff on it.
You mean this?
Yes. So, that's fine. What I wanted to get down to is we talked about parks, it goes parks, and then public safety. And then we get into
Mm-hmm.
streets. What I was looking at earlier, this might be a working model, the way it was grouped.
So, in the introduction here, it goes parks, public safety, streets, but in the detail, starting with this, it goes streets, parks. And
It needs to be switched to.
Just put street at the end again.
Correct. The other
Okay.
request I have as well as when we get to,
we're almost done with this.
streets and alleys, if we could have the specifically earmarked projects presented first, and then,
Earmark projects first, okay? I know what you mean.
and
Trading,
then,
she's
and then do the explanation of the remaining funds, which are for streets and alleys.
well, we're, the earmarked projects, I thought they are kind of before the streets and alleys, are they not?
They are.
This is the last slide of the streets and alleys presentation portion. Marks. There's walls, remember, there's walls, there's activity, there's Strady, there's Chiza, panel replacements.
Let's move, okay,
You wanna move signal cabinets and panel replacements to after the street?
no, I want to move panel replacements, I think.
The order does follow this date.
Then leave it, that's fine. I think I was looking at a different presentation, actually, I think I was looking at a previous version. Because it was all the roads, then the streets, and then the earmark
Yeah.
projects. So I think I was looking at an older version, I'm sorry about that.
There is, between the two items, there's food in there. Heard about? So, take a short break. Or we could- Yeah,
Let's take a short break, 5 minutes, and we'll come back to that. All right, we are reconvened. Is there any more discussion on item 2? Which was just any more questions or requests for reformatting on the deck?
Will this be recirculated prior to the meeting?
I hope so.
How would you like me to do that? You want to, does everybody want to review it again, or do you want me to send it to you and then you put it out there for?
I think what we probably should do is just send it out to everybody.
Okay.
If there's anything glaring, we'll just kind of say that that's the code freeze on this. If there's anything glaring, we can send it back for a correction. As long as it really doesn't change the content. You know, if there's formatting issues or something, that's one thing, but content, as long as it pretty much stays the same, that's fine with me. So what date are we presenting?
January 8th.
Yes. Yes, I will be here the 16th.
So could we have this by,
Yeah.
the,
End of next week.
What I'm thinking is, I'll work with Jeff, why don't we try to have it done, and we've got some staff out, but why don't we try to have it completed by the end of next week, so before we go on the holiday, you have the opportunity to look at it, and give you a deadline to get it back to us. That way we have a chance to make changes before the 8th.
that'd be fine. I was gonna say by the end of the following week, we could be cutting it close for us, but if you can do it by the end of next week, that'd be
These are minor
wonderful.
changes,
Yeah.
I'll probably make these in
Okay,
45 minutes or something.
Could I get a version of it? Would it
Do
be
we know
possible to
that?
get a version in PowerPoint?
As well as PDF, are you asking for both, or would you just prefer PowerPoint?
I would prefer both.
Okay.
Because I want one that I can't edit easily in case I blow something up. But I will probably go back in and add talking notes and stuff for when we're presenting to make sure we don't miss anything.
So our goal will be to get it to you on the 29th.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
If we're running behind, we'll notify you, but
Yeah.
that'll be our goal. Ooh, that's another one.
Next agenda item, discuss possible roles and duties of the CIPTF during the upcoming bond election campaign. To go back a little bit, does everybody plan on being at the council meeting on the 8th? Will it be presented here? Okay. That'd be great. Oh, hi Jeff. So Jeff and I were talking before the meeting about what was done on 2021. And I was here for 2015 and 2018, but not 2021. So you were.
That was basically a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I know that means.
No, that's true.
But what we typically done,
Well, you're talking about the
I'm not talking about the
presentation.
presentation, I'm talking about outreach
All right, outreach
during the
campaign.
campaign.
Okay.
Now, I do remember in 2015, we did a town hall.
there's typically one or two public forums regarding the bond proposal. Typically, you want to try to do two, so that in case somebody can't make it to the first one. And the CIPTF was there, and the staff obviously, to help with the presentation and answer questions regarding the proposed bond. And then there's obviously the flyers and the mailers, those typical things that we need to do during bond election education.
So other than participating in a couple public meetings, I don't know individually what we could do besides that. Or as a group, not just individually, but as a group. I mean, we can say, make sure you go out and vote. That's always helpful. We could get something on the Friday at 5.
The other thing that CIPTF did, or CIP, whatever people, they would have a representative visit every single board and commission at their meeting
That is true.
and present to them.
I presume that was pretty effective.
Yes,
For the membership of boards and commissions.
You're turning them into advocates for, you're doubling the effort, turning those people into advocates. It's a good thing to do, to
Yeah.
attend every,
Yeah, I think we should do that.
We also have a board registration going on and our.
Do we,
Mhm.
do we want to pick our boards and commissions that we want to present to tonight? Or at least say, I would like to?
Yeah, and then you can let staff,
Right.
figure out, give you the calendar date or the meeting dates of when the best time is to go out and educate. Additionally, it's also important to, and I'm sure they can help with notifying y'all what kind of city events are out there during the time when the campaign is going on.
It's the middle of winter.
But the election's in May,
Right.
so there will be some events where we would like to probably have a booth at to answer questions and hand out flyers.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure community engagement would be happy to help.
But that being said, if you serve on another board or commission or are a member of an organization or whatever, and let staff know that connection, because that's easy enough to do that way, for how we break up the work, because there's how many different boards and commissions?
A lot. Many.
A lot. There's enough to go around, put it that way.
All that to the left.
Very,
Yeah.
Well, you don't need TERS, so you don't even go into TERS. All the others
right.
kind of split it between some people in this group who are able to speak on the bond proposal.
Yeah.
But that's something that I think is, not an immediate, and there's not an urgency to doing this at this point because we still got a bit of a ways to go.
We do. And just kind of a reminder, because you might, there's nothing that says you can't start talking about it now, at least in general terms, that we can't advocate, we can only inform.
Right.
We can inform very accurately the facts. So is everybody okay with that? Willing to reach out to another board or commission? We'll divide that up. We'll look at the city events coming up in,
Yeah, we can help that.
Oh, yeah. It's on the city calendar.
We just automatically rotate into the Fridays at 5 sorts of presentations, or do we need to help create scripts?
Community engagement will handle that. And, I'm sure we're gonna have a couple podcasts and maybe with the chair.
well, I don't know, Brian and Asa do some great videos.
Y'all do. And that'd be great to have another kind of video like
We'll
that.
get the band back together.
Yeah. We'll have on-scene, footage on some of these bad roads and maybe drive a tyke through a pothole.
Could have a water
We can get my
slide.
kid's little Jeep thing.
Oh, please, that's on my alley.
Get Blake to ride a tyke or,
Little
down
car
a
wheels.
pop on
Any other ideas? All right, well, we can work on, we had talked earlier when we present, obviously we're gonna have another meeting after this, as far as approving the minutes and stuff. So, do we want to set a date for our next meeting in January?
After the presentation?
After the presentation? Because I think council by then will give the final approval on what they want to move forward with. You don't have a lot of time.
Or do we wait? You're
Yeah,
gonna
I
consider
was,
this?
well, I was thinking maybe wait till February to meet again.
You call the election if this.
February is when we call the election, so
Right.
that's when council votes and puts the items before the Dallas County Elections Department and Rockland County Elections Department.
So it's better not to meet until after then, so we have a clear idea
Then
of
you know for sure what's
us
going
doing
to happen.
the outreach and stuff before
Mhm.
we start that. So when will you meet in February?
So we're either gonna do, the council will either vote on that last meeting of January or first meeting of February.
Most likely the first of February though. I think there's absences expected on the council, so.
Right.
Okay.
So the 6th would be,
That's when you're meeting?
that's when we would be calling the election.
Do we want to try to get back onto our regular Monday or Tuesday?
I think Mondays is good. I don't know if we want to wait till the fourth Monday of February.
Well,
Well, remember also council meets Mondays.
Yeah, for the work session.
But I'm
Well, if you're gonna
I'm
call
thinking
the-
the week after.
yeah, if you're calling the election on the 6th, then we could meet
On the 12th.
on the 12th.
Yeah.
Ready to go with that? Okay, do that.
So no, excuse me, no meeting in January.
No meeting in January.
You'd see
other than, you know, will be presented to council.
Right.
Um,
So that's on the eighth.
So the context.
Anything else for this evening?
So the finalized deck that comes from the city for the January meeting will be the deck we would take to the commission. The commissions, there wouldn't be something that would say, the streets and alleys piece would be additional collateral information, because we won't have that detail, right?
That, well, not necessarily.
I think it might be more of a flyer type thing.
Yeah, or something more streamlined,
Yeah.
bigger bullet points.
So we'll have to, maybe the
After
February
work,
meeting
yeah.
is creating a new
Yeah, probably.
A lot of that might just be chopping down or clarifying.
And,
what we
and
already
I'm
have.
sure that, city manager will know this about me, but I'm sure community engagement department will help in the creation of marketing tools.
Yeah, I expect we're gonna create a bunch of marketing tools. What it is we can't necessarily advocate, and that's where you come in. Think of you as the spokespersons for us, but we will do the behind the scenes.
What do you mean advocate?
We can't advocate
I
staff.
know, yeah.
Right.
Neither can this board.
Neither can we.
But eventually, you can go out and speak on behalf of this bond.
Right. Not in a like, vote yes.
Yeah,
No, just as an informed citizen.
Right.
as an informed
Just
citizen.
making sure.
Right. Okay. Any other business for tonight?
Wow, that was easy.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. We'll call it at 6:30.
Amazing.
What a great meeting.
Record tonight.
Sorry, I was a little bit.